5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hubba, 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 ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're happy and I hope you're healthy wherever you are right now. In fact, I used to say when I was at KCR, the student radio station, I was doing the news, I would sign off by saying, health and happiness to you all. They used to make fun of me. But what else is there on this planet besides health and happiness? And if you have health and you have happiness, however you define happiness, hopefully it's a biblical definition, then I think you're doing pretty good. So, health and happiness to you all. That was like a flash. It's one of those things, I don't know, like an acid flashback. Here I am, health and happiness to you all. Oh, by the way, where are the Epstein files? Honest to God, what you learn in doing television is you never tease something that you don't have later in the show. That is a cardinal sin. And speaking of cardinals, you know, the Pope stacked the College of Cardinals with a bunch of radicals, so don't get your hopes up for another Pope John Paul II, Pope John Paul III. It's probably unlikely. But that's a cardinal sin when you tease something. Oh, the Epstein files are coming. Where are they? I'm sorry to keep harping on this, but we also had the president himself, along with Elon Musk, coming out saying, hey, we found something horrible and incredible, and we're going to reveal it next week. Well, it now is, I think, 3 weeks later. I'm not harping on Donald Trump, and you know that I support Donald Trump, but never make a promise you don't deliver. This is parenting 101, right? Never make a promise as a parent, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, a threat, that you don't deliver on. Like, I'm going to spank you if you jump on the sofa with your shoes on one more time. And they jump on the sofa with their shoes on. If you don't spank them, you're toast. And we don't want that to happen. And so I'm on the sidelines. I'm cheering, okay? I'm not part of this administration, but I'm cheering them on, but we also have to admit when we got tackled for a loss, okay? So where are the Epstein files, and where is this horrible, incredible event? Okay, I can move on. I'm really struggling with what is going on or not going on with Congress, and these activist judges in particular, but everything that Donald Trump is doing. Donald Trump is taking a proverbial shotgun, and he is blowing holes in government. Holes that should have been blown open. There never should have been a target there in the first place. Government, as we all know, has grown, and it grows every year. The budgets grow, and it keeps growing, and government does, and that's the last thing the framers of the Constitution wanted. But I'm struggling about what to do with this Congress, exactly. How do we, as Americans, address this lack of sense of urgency and lack of dovetailing with what the Trump administration is doing? Because everything the Trump administration is doing is wonderful, and it's great, but it's all temporary. An executive order, in many cases, is guidance. Somebody was struck. I was in a meeting last night, and someone was trying to define what an executive order is. It's effectively guidance, because we all know, per the Constitution, a president of the United States cannot write legislation from the Oval Office. Doesn't mean it hasn't been done. It has. But executive orders can be undone by the next president. So I keep saying, President Newsom, I know that sends chills down your spine, but President Newsom can go, that's it, it's undone. Congress is running out of time. Okay, that's just the truth here, ladies and gentlemen. Congress is running out of time to do its sworn constitutional and conservative duty, and that is to codify permanently, I would say, everything Donald Trump is doing. Everything. But if you want to just pick off a few, how about the Department of Education? How about this talk of eliminating ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms? We don't need ATF. Are you Are you going to have a problem tomorrow if the ATF doesn't exist? Of course not. And why are so many on the left so quiet about the Department of Education going away? You ever thought about that? They're not screaming up and down like you thought they would, huh? Maybe they're figuring out, wait a minute, you know, this actually, California's thinking, well, maybe this is going to mean that we have more dollars that we can radicalize our young people with locally, and then we don't have to beg the federal government for dollars to radicalize our young people. It's a fascinating time. It's a fascinating time. I will get to more about Congress in a moment, but this program has always been, in its different forms, has always been about being informative, entertaining, but also educational. And I'm kind of stuck on this one in terms of how to address the lack of action by this Republican-led Congress, and in particular, this Speaker of the House, who is just the wrong guy at the wrong time, okay? Donald Trump has got a lot of fire under this guy, because there is no fire under this guy. You know, he caves to this dummy Republican in Florida, what's her name, Luna, who passes this policy for the House of Representatives that people can vote remotely. You know, this should never happen, but it happened. And the Republicans who signed on to that are out of their minds. This is like vote by mail. Okay, so, but if I'm Speaker Johnson, I'll say, okay, I got, I was going to use a bad word there, but I'm going to use a G-rated word. I blew it on that one. But now I'm going to use this tool to my advantage. And so let's vote right now on impeaching this judge, this ex-judge that's out of control. I am tired of opening up my news feed and seeing the latest Obama judge, the latest Biden judge, the latest Clinton judge, and sometimes the latest Bush judge negating the Article 2 powers of the United States Constitution, aka the President of the United States doing his sworn duty. This is not what these judges are supposed to be doing. They're supposed to look at something and say, yep, that's constitutional, yep, that's lawful, or it's not. That's all. That's all they're supposed to be doing. One of these, I think it's an Obama, I hate using that modifier, by the way, because federal judges ought to be federal judges. They shouldn't be a modifier of a Clinton judge or an Obama judge or a Biden judge or a Trump judge. They ought to just be a judge. But that's where we are. So you have one of these judges that's appointed by one of the Marxists we've had in the Oval Office, saying that he's going to appoint a special prosecutor if Donald Trump and the Team Trump doesn't come up with the paperwork and the answers to his demands on, I think it's an immigration issue. I've lost track, to be honest with you. There are so many judges firing off so many injunctions, I don't even know where we are. You know, on the one hand, we have the president enforcing the law, deporting illegals, and then on the other hand, we have these judges saying they have due process rights. Well, I don't care what anybody says. And I see people out there misquoting Sam Alito, Antonin Scalia on this one, that illegals have due process rights. I do not believe that if Scalia were here right now, he would say, no, that's not what I meant. That's taken out of context. I know that's what they're doing. There's no way Scalia would say, there's 20 million illegals in this country. Every single one of those illegals has a due process right, a right to their moment in court. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? But the basic fact is, if you're not under the jurisdiction of the United States, therefore you're not a citizen. If you're not a citizen, I'm not even saying you're illegal or not, okay? If you're not under the jurisdiction of the United States, how in the world can you have United States rights? Does that mean somebody in Ghana has constitutional rights even though they're in Ghana? That doesn't make any sense. If you are an American citizen and you go to Thailand, you still have your constitutional rights. They travel with you. So you telling me that this is the kind of logic that you have to think this through. If all 20 million illegals have our constitutional rights, even though they're illegals, if these illegals have our constitution, that means that that dude down in El Salvador, the gangbanger, the illegal who was deported, he has constitutional rights. You got to be kidding me. Does that make any sense to you, ladies and gentlemen? Of course not. So if I was Pam Bondi, and I ask you again, are you impressed with Pam Bondi? Maybe you are. If I was Pam Bondi and DOJ, I would walk into court, all of these judges, and I would say, Federalist 78, okay? That's what we call a tease in broadcasting, because I'm going to tell you what Federalist 78 is all about. Now, I'm not going to drop the ball, okay? I'm not going to forget about Federalist 78, so don't worry. But viewer mail real quick. And by the way, if you want to get a hold of me, it's grahamledger411@gmail.com, grahamledger411@gmail.com. Also, you can chat at me here on YouTube, where we are going live with millions of viewers at the moment. So please say hi to me. Please tell me my hair looks great. Please tell me my lighting is perfect. Please tell me you like the Emmy Awards over my left shoulder. Anything. Just tell me you have a pulse. I just want to hear from you. This is viewer mail. This email comes to us from Chuck. My question is the same, really. And the question is, where is Congress? Where is Congress? Where is Congress? I'm going to answer that in a moment, too. Where is Congress? But we're talking physically and philosophically. Where is Congress? Where's Speaker Johnson? He's such a moral man. He's the wrong dude at the wrong time. Period. We need somebody at least like Newt Gingrich in there. So Chuck says the same thing. This email from Richard: thank you, sir. You're a true American patriot. The majority of American citizens trust our great President Trump and gave him the mandate to run this country for us, not a handful of activist bench warmers whom nobody voted for. That's from Richard. Sounds like me. They're activist lawyers dressed in black robes. And they're going way beyond their mandate. And they need to be held accountable. The only way that our Constitution allows them to be held accountable. And that's the United States Congress. Article 3 creates the Supreme Court. All inferior courts, that is, all courts beneath the Supreme Court, federal courts, are the domain of the United States Congress. Therefore, these federal court judges work for the United States Congress. Who controls the United States House of Representatives and the United States Senate right now? That would be the Republican Party, Graham. Oh, really? It doesn't seem like it. This email comes to us from Cynthia. We need to fire a lot of government workers and judges. Yes, well, that is an accurate statement. It's happening on one end. We're firing government workers. But we need to fire some judges, and we need to set some examples. You like your cushy little judgeship? Well, then you better follow the mandate of Federalist 78. This email from Pamela. We all know judges are supposed to be under Congress control. What can be done about moving this do-nothing Congress to get off their lazy butts and do their jobs? That's from Pamela. Well, how about this? How about we start here? How about we read to them Federalist 78, written by Alexander Hamilton. And for those of you keeping score at home, and maybe you don't know, the Federalist Papers were written after the framers hammered out the United States Constitution, with no amendments at that time. The Bill of Rights hadn't even been hammered out yet. James Madison was still pushing for that, and eventually he'd get it. There were, I think 15 in the Bill of Rights, and they narrowed it down to 10, but that's after, Okay, so we're just talking the core United States Constitution, Article 1, 2, 3. Federalist 78, Alexander Hamilton, and James Madison, and I think it was John Jay, if I remember right. Those were the three authors, but it was primarily Hamilton and Madison explaining to the American people in 1787 what the Constitution was all about. So Hamilton gets to Article 3 and the Article 3 branch, and they were, of all the branches, they were most worried about the Article 3 branch, the judges, because a rogue judge can be a big problem, can be a loose cannon. And that's where we are today, by the way. And they were not accountable to the people. Who are they accountable to? Congress, except the Supreme Court. So, Federalist 78, Hamilton. The judiciary can take no active resolution whatsoever. Are you listening there, Obama judge? Are you listening there, Biden judge? Are you listening there, Clinton judge? The judiciary can take no active resolution whatsoever to have neither force, which is capitalized, nor will, which is capitalized, but merely judgment. I'm going to repeat that. Merely judgment. And must ultimately depend upon the aid of the executive arm even for the efficacy of its judgments. So think about the irony of that. So Hamilton is saying that these judges have to rely on the Article 2 branch, the president, to have whatever their rulings are enforced. So it's the opposite that's happening now. The president, doing his job, is being hammered by the Article 3 branch, which doesn't exist in the Constitution, but is a creation of Congress, the federal court judges. So it's the opposite of what Hamilton prescribed here. Federal judges right now are taking exactly the opposite stance that Hamilton wrote about. He writes, the judiciary can take no active resolution whatsoever. These federal court judges are taking active resolutions. To have neither force nor will. They're applying force and they're applying their own will. But merely judgment. I don't even see any judgments going on here based on the Constitution and based on federal law. It's judgments based on their political philosophy. So we're upside down. We're inverted. We're a Delta plane landing in Canada, flown by female pilots, or at least one female pilot. The male pilot, I guess, was the first officer in that case. What happened on that one, by the way? Can we get some information on that one? I mean, I'm going to fly Delta pretty soon here. I'd just like to know what happened. So where's Congress? Well, I think it was Congressman Darrell Issa, who I've known for many years, who proffered the Judicial Relief Clarification Act, and among other things, it limits the federal court judges from issuing a blanket injunction that can affect the entire nation. In fact, it won't even affect, if this passes, please, it won't even, a judgment like an injunction wouldn't even affect the district they're in. It would affect that one case, which is what it should be. So, if these 20 million illegals each want to go in court and have their day in court, which they don't constitutionally deserve, then a judge would have to issue an individual injunction on every single one of these illegals, which is disgusting to me because they don't even deserve to be in our court system. Don't you understand? The law is clear. If you're here illegally, you need to be deported. There's nothing about your day in court. And even if there was something in some codicil somewhere where they can be adjudicated in immigration court, that's not a right. That would be an option. The other thing about this Judicial Relief Clarification Act is if you do want to issue a nationwide injunction, then you have to go through the class action route, which is a very high bar, which is why they don't want to do it. But it makes sense, right? If you want to issue a nationwide ruling, you've got to do a class action, what we do in civil court. So why would these people, the El Salvadorian man who's from Maryland, you know, the mainstream media reporting the Maryland man that's now in El Salvador. I mean, it's comical. It's absolutely comical. So what do we do? You know, I'm at that meeting last night that I referred to. People say, you know, call your representatives, and yeah, you can do that. But you know what? These people don't care about you. They don't care about you. The only thing these representatives these days care about is a threat. And I'm not talking bodily threat. I'm not talking going down there and causing physical harm, okay? But the kind of threat that is a threat to their existence politically, to their cushy little job, in their cushy little domain that they have set up, that's the kind of threat they respond to. So how do we impose that on members in Congress? I don't know. I really don't know. I hate going on TV and saying I don't know. But I don't know. Yeah, primary them. Recall election. I mean, all these take time. We don't have time. We have about 12 months, maybe less. You know, the re-election cycle is already underway. I saw just the other day some ding-dong in my district, the congressman, already holding a fundraiser. Yeah, I mean, it's obscene. This is why we need term limits, okay? Don't argue with me on that one. We just need one and you're done, okay? But I will tell you, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, we have a moral obligation to resist or disobey unjust laws. Well, we have a moral obligation to resist or disobey unjust justices. I believe that as a Christian. Because if someone is doing something wrong, whether they're wearing a black robe or a sailor cap, they need to be held accountable, and you need to stand up to them. And the Bible says it too, more or less. In Psalms 94:23, God turns back their evil. This is talking about judges from what I have deciphered, okay? This is not just render to Caesar what is Caesar's, but this is talking about judges. God turns back their evil upon them and destroys them for their wickedness. Surely the Lord our God will destroy them. Okay, so we have that to look forward to. In the meantime, we're suffering. So the Bible says they are wicked and they are wrong and that God will get them. But in the meantime, what do? Well, I think we do what Martin Luther King Jr. pointed out, and the Bible points out. Yeah, Martin Luther King Jr. didn't just make that up, but it's either written specifically in the Bible or you can read it between the lines. And it's okay to read things between the lines. The United States Constitution doesn't talk about freedom of movement specifically. It talks about freedom in general. But if you limit somebody's movement, like they're doing in California, you are necessarily truncating their constitutional rights, their constitutional freedom. Think about it. If you're not able to move out of California because there's no gasoline and there's no electricity to power your electric car, this is what I keep warning my friends in California. That's where they're hurtling to. Oh, we're staying behind to fight the good fight. You're on the Titanic, the political Titanic. And there are some lifeboats still available. But there's going to be a point on that political Titanic where there ain't no lifeboats. It's going to happen. Is it going to happen in our lifetime? It might. You know, that mandate, that electric car mandate, I think they keep pushing it back, but it's still out there. is still out there. So where's Congress? Well, I hate to tell you that Congress right now is on vacation. And they're not going to be back into the office. They haven't been in the office for a week, and they're not going to be back until, I think, next Monday. So Speaker Johnson thought it was so important what Donald Trump is doing, eliminating departments, DOJ, finding all kinds of malfeasance all over the place. Speaker Johnson thought it was so important with Donald Trump and such a once-in-a-lifetime event that Speaker Johnson said, let's go on vacation. And I think they went on vacation even early after this Paulina Luna did this stupid move that she did, forcing this issue where if you're at home, you can vote. I don't even know what the stipulation is. It could be you have to be pregnant. Of course, now these days, a guy could say, I'm pregnant, I'm going to vote from home. I mean, this is insanity. So where's Congress? Congress is on vacation. And there is no sense of urgency. They're reading the same headlines I'm reading about these activist judges, and they're literally doing nothing. That's the state of our constitutional republic right now. I wish I could tell you different, but I think it's a Martin Luther King moment for the administration, for all of us, because these activist judges are doing evil. And remember what I always say. I'm Graham Ledger. And remember, evil can only prevail when good is silent.